Welcome back. So, as we go into 2019, I wanted to do a podcast about business, and I actually decided to invite Priscilla. She's CEO and owner of Leo.Lashes on Instagram, and I did an interview with her. She's 21 years old. She did her own research and launched her own lash line, which she's now offering packages and teaching people how to launch their own companies as well. And she's actually releasing her own makeup palette next month, which I'm so excited about. I had no idea that was happening, and that was an awesome surprise just to see her grow. And as we go into 2019, we'll have new goals for our life and our business. And this episode is just so warm and so empowering in the sense that if you want to do something, the sacrifices that it takes and your will to do it will make you succeed. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much to Priscilla for being part of my podcast. And here we go. I just think it takes somebody very special with a certain drive to start their own business. And so I wanted to invite you to my podcast, to share your story and more about who you are.
Oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I am 21.
Damn, girl.
I turned 21 in August.
So tell us more about yourself. So you're 21, and I know you started your company. So how did all this happen?
So it's actually kind of like a funny story. So I saw an ad when I was probably like 19, where it said, "Do you want to start your own lash company?" And it was basically an ad for like a lash vendor. Never used that vendor. I just like saw the ad and I was like, yeah, I want to start my own. So I was like, And then I kind of put it off for the idea kind of left my mind. And then my 20th birthday came, and then in September of 2017, my sister had actually called me and we were just talking, and she was like, you know what, we should start our own eyelash brand. And I was like, you know what, that's crazy, because I've been wanting to do that. And then, life gets busy, so we both kind of forgot about it. And then I started dating my boyfriend in October of that year. And then around January, I told him I wanted to do that. And he was just like, well, why not? And for some reason, that was like the driving force of like, yeah, why not? It was so funny because like I like couldn't find motivation otherwise. Like before that, I was trying to do it, but it's like, there's so little information available, and a lot of brands that started on their own, like, this is so understandable, but they don't really want to tell like how they started it, because it's very hard, I understand that, but it was so hard. I had to find the vendors on my own, which was extremely hard. And that's why, so I had actually had the idea for like 6-8 months before I had actually started it.
Yeah.
So it was a very long process, but honestly, the final steps, like starting the Instagram, getting the vendors, getting the promoters, and launching it took me like less than a month and a half. But it's just the initial starting it and trying to find everything.
Yeah. And that's what I love about you, honestly. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted you to come on here, because I always believe in empowering and helping others. And I noticed recently that you put like a post on your stories on Instagram that anybody that wants to start their own company, you charge a really minimal fee, and you're willing to help them and give them all the information that they need to start out.
Yeah. And I love doing that. I've helped about like 12 brands now.
That's awesome.
Because it's so hard, and I think like there's a lot of mistakes that can be made if they're not guided into the right direction. Like I made like so many mistakes trying to go from vendor to vendor, figuring out which ones are good, because you don't know. And a lot of the I know brands today that are still getting ripped off by their vendors, and there's so many like things to learn that honestly it's just so fun helping other brands, especially because they're going to start their brand anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like I might as well make a new friend. I might as well help them, and it's so fun to do. Seeing like I've already seen 5 of the brands that I that bought the whole package. Like, so basically starting the lash brand from the ground up, because I have smaller packages for brands that are already established, but they just want to get help with a few questions.
Oh, it's awesome.
But I've helped about 5 brands. Just they weren't even like, they didn't have an Instagram for it or anything. And then now they're like, they've already had their first like 10, 20 customers. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I helped you like a month ago. Like you started your whole thing in a month. It took me like 8 months.
But see, that's awesome. Like you're helping them and it's working and you're seeing the results like right away. And I mean, that's freaking like gratifying, you know?
Thank you. I'm blushing.
Don't blush, girl. Don't blush. So, what was the hardest obstacle that you faced trying to build your brand and establish your business?
I think the hardest thing for me was getting the name out there, because in the age of the internet, and I love this, but in the age of the internet, you have so much competition. You know, anybody can start their own business. Anybody can start their own brand. Because you don't have to go out and rent a storefront anymore. You know, you don't only sell to your city that you live in. You can start it from your home, and you know, it's just that easy. So especially when you're a small business, there's so many other ones. So it's mainly just getting the name out. It took me probably my first month with the Instagram to get 150 followers, and that's when I launched my website. And then after that, it was kind of hard to get to 1,000, but I feel like once you just can get to a certain like follower count, the rest is kind of handled, because then people are buying your product, they're putting your name out there. It is still a hard process though, especially when you see numbers and you're like, what number should I be at?
Yeah.
You know, social media is like that, and you're thinking, oh, well, this brand that started after me has this many, and you kind of start to get discouraged. But that's just the hardest, like mentally, because you really have to like talk yourself through that. Like, no, it's okay. Like you're still doing good. You're just, you know, a little behind. But
well, yeah, it's just like the pressure with like social media. And like I always tell people, like, you know, I have under 1,300 or 1,300, you know, like the number goes up and down, followers. But you know, like I'm able to work with the brand. I'm able to educate. I've been doing it for a year, you know, like it's just like, if you have the drive and willing and power to do it, there's more power in what you're willing to do than your actual number. Yeah. And also like Instagram is about to change that. They're going to remove that whole follower thing. They're going to hide it.
And I think that's honestly amazing, because I'm so
excited.
It can be really like, I don't want to say damaging, but discouraging for, you know, brands and influencers alike, especially when, and the thing is like, it can be all an illusion as well. Like there's definitely brands that have bought a lot of followers, because you look and you're like, wow, they have 100,000. And then you click on a post and they get like 500 likes with 100,000 followers. And Instagram's cracking down on that. They're like gonna delete all the ghost followers, which I'm kind of excited about, because I'm like, we'll see who's real and who's fake.
Ooh, the truth is coming out.
I know. I'm like excited.
I know, because it's honestly, it's really discouraging. Like even just like, you know, for me, like I'm in the hair world, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just, there's so much competition, there's editing and this and that. And that's why at the end of the day, you just have to be real with you and be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Like, I'm being real. It's okay. Like, you know, you're doing you, boo. And it's good. Like you're growing little by little. You have to just really focus on yourself and not be discouraged by everything else around you.
Yeah. And that was a huge like advice I had to take for myself, because I would tell my boyfriend, I'd be like, dude, like, this brand started before me, and like a little bit before me, or at the same time. This brand started after me, and they're both ahead of me. And I'd be like, why am I not, you know? And I would, and I'd be like, I only got like 5 orders today. Like, how come I didn't get 100 like this other brand? And then he was just like, look, you literally, if you just compare yourself to the next person, you're not going to get anywhere. And that's just a huge piece of advice I give to anybody starting their brand or that already has their brand, because like comparing yourself to the other person, that's literally wasting so much time.
Yeah.
The only person you should compare yourself to is who you were, or like where your brand was like a month ago to where it is now.
Very true, girl.
And just focus on, you know, bettering it. You know, ask people what you can do better with it. That's like the only thing that's gonna help you.
Yeah, and that's awesome. So you're taking like, constructive criticism and you're using it for your advantage, which I think it's something like so awesome, and it says a lot about you too, because a lot of
Thank
people
you.
will be like offended, like,
Yeah.
oh my God, what do you mean you didn't like that color or you didn't like that picture?
Yeah. And there's going to be critics everywhere. You might as well just embrace it and be like, oh, thank you for the advice. Actually, I never thought of that. Sometimes I'll get DMs that say, like, oh, I don't like this. Like, can you do this and stuff from just like random people or customers before, or even my friends. And I'm like, you know what? Like, yeah, maybe I will change it.
Yeah.
It's all about, you just can't take offense with that stuff,
Well, yeah.
especially because business, that's just how it is. It gets hard like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what if you're in a creative type of business, you always have to be evolving.
Oh, yeah.
Especially like when it comes to the beauty industry, like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
constantly evolving, like every freaking 4 to 3 months,
Yeah.
so you have to be right up there with it, that's
Mm-hmm.
why, like, I do education all the time to stay up to date. And like you're talking about, your brand, you're always trying to ump it to the next level, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, it's just crazy because, like the lash industry, God, when I was like 17, nobody wore fake eyelashes. Like, you can maybe get the Ardell ones from Walmart, but nobody wore them. Like, that was just like, I knew one girl that wore them to school, and everybody would be like, wow, how does she do that? Like, that's so bold of her. And now I'm like wearing them every day, and like this is light work. And so I feel like the brands who didn't evolve to like doing fake eyelashes too, they missed out on a huge thing. So it is all about evolving. So who knows where we're going to be in a year? What if everybody goes back to just wearing mascara and lip gloss?
Exactly. And that's why it's so important when you're like in something and it's booming, like you have to like be there and hustle with it and work with it, because like you say, it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
you know um so how did you find out all these vendors? Like, what was your research like?
So basically, before I started it, I just Googled all day. And like, it's to the point where I'm serious. There's no information on Google. Cause think about it. The big companies, I don't know how long small eyelash brands have been around. I know a few of them, and like, we've all started in 2018.
Yeah, I
So
feel like
I'm
it's
like,
fairly new.
yeah. So I'm like, especially mink lashes, like none of that was, like I said, when I was 17, like 3 4 years ago, even when I was 18, nobody wore fake eyelashes. Like, the only ones you could buy were the Elf ones or the Ardell ones at Target. Like, I'm so serious. So there's no information on Google. So I was like, what the heck? And so I got the app Alibaba, the vendor like app from like China.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of going through their listings. And then I kind of gave up for a while because the minimum order quantities were like 5,000. And I was like, oh God, I don't even know the quality yet. So, and I had been ordering from a lot of vendors that I found through the internet. And like most of them were like, they would be like, oh, these luxury mink lashes. And then I'd get sent some, the ones that I ordered, and they were like plastic. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is so hard. Like, how does this work? So then finally, when I made my Instagram and I just started basically following people and contacting people to be promoters and stuff, I finally got a vendor. This was before I had any product out, and she had DM'd me and was like, hey, like, I'm an eyelash vendor, like wholesale, like, I see you're starting your brand out, like, do you want to see like my catalog? And I was like, I was sketched out because I didn't know that's how it worked. But now this is literally how probably like 90% of the lash brands I know get their eyelashes through Instagram. Because I honestly, now that I'm thinking, I literally don't know how other people get them. But
Yeah.
she basically was like, here's a catalog, la la, like, you can pay through PayPal. So honestly, I was scared. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get scammed. But I was like, I was so like at a point where I'm just like, no, I just need to do this. I was like so tired with the job I was working at the time. I was like, I just want to quit and do this. So I was like, okay, yeah, like, show me what you have. And then she showed me the lashes, like, bomb. And I was like, you know what? PayPal is really safe. So I just ordered a couple pairs. So I was like, by the way, tip for lash brands, if you're listening to this, always send through PayPal Business, never send through friends and family if you're ordering something, because business, they'll get your money back, but friends and family, they won't be able to do anything about it.
Dude, that's awesome. I had no idea.
Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
it's for real, because like it does charge them a fee, but that's them. And if they make you pay the fee, honestly, it's like $3. So I don't even bother. I'm just like, okay, who cares? You know, because it could be, there's so much stuff that could happen on the way to it, to the package to your house, that if you're spending like any amount, honestly, but especially a higher amount, you got to pay through business, because then at least PayPal, if something happens, or if the vendor doesn't come through, or the package doesn't come, you can file a claim and get your money back. They cannot do anything through friends and family. But anyways, so I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to order a couple pairs. And then it got sent to me super fast. It got to my house in like 4 days. And the quality was just amazing. And I was like, so this is how everybody does it. Because I had already had the whole Instagram contacting people to be the promoters. And I had no product. But I just knew I was going to find it soon. So I was like, I'm going to find it soon. Like, it's fine. It's fine. And so I asked the vendor, you know, like, hey, can I order more? And the ones I had at that point, I just sent them out to the promoters. Because I was like, okay, this is the product I do have. And then I basically put in a bigger order. And then I like had the lashes kind of sitting in my drawers. And then I waited to launch the website. And actually, fun fact, right before I launched the website, I actually did quit my job.
Oh my gosh. So you were like all in. You're like, I'm going to do this and we're going to make it happen and I'm going to be successful, and you quit your job.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I was 19 when I got that job, but I was 20 when I quit it. And it was full-time benefits, and it was a super high paying job for somebody that's really young. So like it wasn't just like a job where I'm just like, like it was like a job, you know. And
you had a good job.
Yeah. And I had like health benefits. I had paid vacations like at like 19, 20, you know. It was full-time, everything. And it was a job in makeup as well. So it was like a job that I was like, you know, this is gonna either blow up in my face or it's gonna just like be perfect. So yeah, I did quit it because I was just kind of like, okay, I need to be all into this to at least start it, or else I'm not gonna do it. Like, I know myself, I have to like have this be the only thing going for me. And it seems so crazy. I know. I told my mom, I don't live with my mom. My mom lives in a different state, but I told my mom, like, hey, I'm doing this. I just quit my job. She literally like had a panic attack. She was like, you quit your job to start an eyelash brand that you haven't even launched your website for yet? And I was like, yeah. I was like, so, and she's like, you have rent to pay, you have a car payment, you have insurance. And I was like, I know. Oh my God, I'll do it. It's fine. Like, geez, chill out. And so I did it. And it actually, it was amazing just to have like a month and a half to put my all into. And then I realized like, okay, like I needed that to start it. And then I did go back to work like a month and a half, maybe 2 months after.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, that's fun. And I know I'm like going to need some extra funding for it just to get like, because I needed to start buying the nice packaging and stuff. Because I started out with just the plastic cases that the vendor gives you.
Yeah. And then you start upgrading.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. So I went back to work. And then I was already established in my brand, so I kept it going. So I feel like the reason why I quit my job is that I needed to like go all in with the brand just because I had so much faith in it. And I know that seems crazy. People are probably like, you quit your good like benefits like job. Like everybody thought it was crazy. And I was like, yeah, like that's why I didn't like telling people I wasn't working at the time. I was like, yeah, I have my brand. They're like, where are you working at? I'd be like, I have my brand.
I'm working on my brand.
Yeah, I'd be like, you know, and so I was very like, not antisocial, but I was very just doing my brand like every day because I was like, I just want this to be my project that I'm doing without anybody's criticism.
Well, yeah, and you were focused, you know, and I think it's so important. Sometimes you just have to freaking focus.
Yeah.
You have to. And people think I'm like, I mean, I do fun stuff, you know, but I'm really focused. Like I work, honestly, I work 7 days out of the week.
Yeah.
I do 3 days behind the chair and the rest is like Instagram, social media, or something, you know?
Mm-hmm. And people like think that we're crazy for working, you know, 7 days a week. I don't take any days off from Instagram or my business.
Exactly.
I check my email every single day, even if I'm across the country, you know. I check it every day because at least you can do, because I see it like this. If I can't be home packing orders or if the post office is closed and I can't do much, I'm going to at least be checking and answering emails and DMs. I'm going to at least be active on the social media. That's all on your phone. It's not even like work to me.
Yeah.
I'm already on my phone all the time, so I might as well be productive with it.
That might as well benefit me.
Yeah. And so I think people, they see like, oh, that's so much work. And I'm like, not really. You know what I think is so much work? Standing on your feet for like 10, 12 hours a day, like 5 days a week.
Amen. And
Yeah.
how do you see it? So you established your business in January.
Oh, I actually established it in March.
Or in March.
Yeah.
Holy crap, girl. So how has your life changed now with your business? Has it been hard financially? Did you see the gains from it? How has it been like for you?
So basically, I started in March, and I decided to leave my job on March like 15th. And then I launched the website, I think March 18th, or it might have been the 28th. And during that month and a half, I was doing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I went into financial ruin before I went back to work. I was just kind of like, okay, like I need to do something just to extra fund my business. Because once you start getting established, there are business licenses, resale licenses. Like there are, just to get the licenses in my town, I had to get like 3 of them.
Man.
Just for having a business in the town I live in, you know, and that's not counting, you know, there's a lot of licenses you have to get and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I was just like, like, I don't feel like completely ruining my finances and going into all this debt. So I was like, I'm going to work. And so I went back to work pretty quick. And yeah, I definitely have seen the profits from it. And sometimes it's hard because when you're already getting paid for a job and then you see, oh, I have this much money, you kind of have to like dissect everything. So I always like to, like I keep all of my receipts, obviously, because they're all tax deductible. So I'm not going to lose any of those. But you have to basically see, okay, how much do I get each lash for? How much did I sell it for? You know, how much information did I sell this week and stuff like that. So yeah, I have seen the profits from it financially in the beginning. Just because I wasn't working, it was kind of like not hard. Like I had saved up enough for it to be fine, but I was just kind of like, oof, like if I had been working and doing this, but at the same time, I know I wouldn't have gone that hard with it because I had tried to do it while I was working at that job months before. And it just took so much of my time.
So you felt like you wouldn't been like as focused in it?
Yeah, because I was at the job for like 45 hours a week. So
why did you decide to do this? Because honestly, by the sounds of your story, like you quit your job, you went all in, then you went back in to fund more of your business and really push it out more. Yeah. So it sounds like you're passionate about this. So what really drove you to do this?
Mainly, so I've always like just been an entrepreneur, like at heart. Like when I was 16, I used to sell like these flower crowns that me and my friend would make. We used to sell them. And then I actually made tie-dye Nike socks and like tie-dye shirts. Cause because I was like, first I just always like, ever since I was like young, I was like, I know there's more money to be made outside of a traditional job. And I don't have any entrepreneurs in my family. So like explaining that to anybody in my family, I mean, they understand, but I mean, like, you know, it's a harder thing to explain to somebody that works, you know, but I just always knew, I was like, there's money to be made. So I've been working since I was 17, but when I was 16, I just did like my tie-dye stuff and the flower crowns. And I actually made about the same money I was making working at a job. So I basically always knew it was always not eating at me, but kind of poking at me. Like, you're not made to work like this. You need to do your own thing. Just because my personality, like I've always been able to hold down the jobs that I like for long, but I'm just like, but I don't want to do this forever. You know, I've worked in makeup for like 2 years and I've loved every makeup job I've had, but I'm like, regardless, like I know I'm not supposed to do this forever. So basically the driving force was a combination of having my boyfriend's support, and then just like I still loved that job, but I was just like, it's taking so much time and it was so much work that I was just like, all this energy I'm using, because by the time I would get home, my shifts were like 11:30 to 8.
That's crazy.
So by the time I get home, it's like pitch black.
Yeah.
Yep, I had no time to do anything in the morning because I also had a 30-minute drive one way. So I was like, I'm gone like almost 10 hours out of the day. You know, I get home and then I fall asleep and then I wake up and I do everything again. So I'm like, I can't. And then my 2 days off, because the shifts I had, like I wasn't able to get anything done before or after.
Yeah.
So I had to do everything, like every errand I had to run on my 2 days off. So I was like, and the job, I had no option to go part-time because of the position. It was only full-time. So I was like, oh my gosh, I just have to do this. So it was more of like,
Damn.
it was more of like not an option for me.
You wanted to change your life, and
Yeah.
you took the power within you and you made it happen, girl.
And
look at you now.
I know. I'm like, I'm so glad, because I honestly, I think a lot. I'm like, what if I kept that high paying job? But that's something. If I had kept the high paying job, I would have been like, I wonder what it would have been like if I started my own business. So it's just, we're gonna have questions like that forever. So you might as well just do what you really like to do, because no matter what in life, it's gonna be hard in some way, shape, or form.
It's so true. I know, honestly, like I'm about to go through like a whole different little avenue in my career too. And it's scary because it's not something people do. Like, you know, especially hairstylists, you're supposed to be focused on one thing only. But I'm like, fuck it. I want to be different. You're like, and I'm going to try it.
Yeah, and that's the best thing to do, because you know what? If it doesn't work out how you wanted it to be, you can always go back to what you're familiar with and what you're doing.
Exactly, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm like, you know what? Everybody said I was fucking crazy when I started doing hair.
Yeah.
I'm like,
oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, no, believe me, my mom was like, you quit your job to start an eyelash brand, and I was like, yes, because my mom, she's had the same job for like 20 years. So I'm like, oh my God, like I could not. I'm sorry, I can't imagine myself being in the same career. Like, it takes a certain person to do that.
Yeah.
And I've always been a freelance type of like person where I'm like, I need to start, you know, and I applaud my mom every day for being able to get up and do what she does, because she's been promoted a lot within her company. And I'm like, I've worked quite a few jobs. I don't think I've ever had a promotion, because I'm like, I'm not that type of like structured work person. Like I am a business person, you know?
Yeah, it's just you're a business person by heart.
Yeah. So I'm like, there's just certain people are made for that, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's very true. And how has it affected your friendships? Like, do your friends encourage you? Like, how has this whole journey changed you, like, in a personal sense?
This is kind of like a funny question, because like it's kind of basically when I started working at my high paying job, like I didn't have as much time, because I was always working part-time. Yeah. This is my first full-time gig, you know? So I went from having all this time to spend with my friends to like always being gone, and just like on my days off, I was too tired to go meet up with people. So my friendships were already kind of, I mean, I've never been the type to like have a lot of friends anyways. I like to just keep a couple of them. Mm-hmm. But I just kind of had a hunch, like right when I started my new job, I was like, like I feel like I'm supposed to just kind of like have a few friends. And so basically I kind of already like stopped being super social. And then I didn't tell anybody I was starting the brand, like on my social media or my friends or anybody. I just told my mom, my sister, my brother, and my boyfriend and my best friend. But I only told them. So I didn't really want to be that social at the time, because I was focused and I didn't want anybody's criticism to ruin it. Yeah. So I didn't want to let anybody know what I was doing. So I kind of not isolated myself, because I was still like seeing people, but I was kind of just like backtracking, like, oh, like, I don't know if I want to like tell anybody that, you know, I don't want any criticism. So it was just kind of, I went from like seeing certain friends like 3 times a week to just seeing them like a couple times a month. Because I also wasn't hanging out in the city I was living in a lot, because I was just going to, because where I was working and where I like had most of my friends were 30 minutes away from where I lived.
So still a drive.
Yeah, so a lot of times I just liked hanging out at home, or I liked being with my boyfriend a lot, because we still had a fairly new relationship at that point.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, I don't have time for much, so I'd rather have time for him and my business. So it's not that it's put a strain on any friendships at all. It's just like they've kind of dimmed down a little bit, but I've also gotten new friendships. So I think it just kind of comes with also like the new friendships I have. They are very business minded. And I think that's just what every entrepreneur needs. You need people that are going to take you to a new level.
And see, and that's so important, especially, you know, so this is pretty awesome because you're 21 and I'm 32.
You're 32, really?
I am. I'm 32.
Wow. I didn't think you were.
I know, I'm that old. I'm going to be 33.
Oh my God.
But it's interesting because a lot of people think I really believe in life as you go through different cycles and you start growing to different levels.
Yeah.
Different people come and go.
Yeah.
And I always say it's so important for you to keep your circle strong.
Oh, yeah.
Like-minded people like you, because, you know, like the saying says, mystery loves company.
Oh, yeah. And I've definitely met people where I'm like, I used to be before I started my business, like my business brings a sense of empowerment to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've always been somebody that was defined by their job, because I always had a good job. You know, I always had like a, you know, like I'm still good at working, even though I am a business-minded person. Like I still go hard in my jobs, but it's basically like, I know I'm supposed to do business more. But anyways, I've always been empowered by either the business project I have or the job I'm working. So there were times where when I first moved to California, I worked like just kind of like, I worked at McDonald's first. And then I had a few friends that just kind of like made me feel bad about myself because I didn't know how to, like, I wasn't driving or anything. I didn't have a license or a car. So I was just kind of dealing with like the ugly treatment they were giving me, just because I didn't like, I was like, oh, like I don't have anything going for me right now. Like I feel like such a loser, you know? So I accepted like half treatment from people, and even like bad treatment, just because I didn't feel like I had anything going for me. So I feel like with a business now, you know, I have the confidence to tell people like, no, you're not going to do that. You know, you're not going to say that to me. And I have the confidence to get the friends that I deserve, you know? So I think entrepreneurs that are just starting out that know that that's what they're going to be doing, I think they definitely need to get friends that are business minded, because if you get friends that don't really have anything going for them and they don't even want to do anything. You know, I had friends that literally weren't doing anything, and then they want to tell you what to do. Like, really? You're going to hustle backwards, you know?
And it's so true, you know, and I believe like we all go through a struggle. You know what I mean? Like, even for me, like we were actually talking about this yesterday. I had a Camaro in high school. It was like a 1975 Camaro. Okay.
Ooh.
And no, girl, it had like 20 different colors. The bumper was hanging on with it with duct tape. It was so bad. But it was my car.
Yeah.
And now, you know, like, now I have like 2 Lexus, right? That's why it's like that. But you know what I mean? Is that struggle? Is that like whole people putting you down and making fun of you, and you're like, shit, is this really what my life's gonna be? Like, it's turning those negatives into positive to make your dreams come true that really do matter.
Yeah, and I talk a lot about how I, you know, used to like walk everywhere and have to get like rides everywhere for like a year when I was in California, you know?
Yeah.
And I had actually saved up like every penny I was making so I could buy my first car in cash. And then not even a year later, and I didn't get full coverage insurance on it because it was it's like a 2008 car. I should have, because the 2008 is still kind of fairly new.
I know.
But
it
was a perfect Honda Civic. There was nothing wrong with it. And so I like, that car was my baby. Like, that was my first step of confidence in California. I was like, oh my God, I have a car. Nobody can tell me anything anymore. So then, not even a year later, a guy with no insurance like rear-ended me and totaled my car.
Oh.
And I had uninsured insurance, thank God, because if I had just liability, I would have been just done. but the uninsured only gave me like $3,000, and I bought that car for $6,000 in cash when I was 18.
Man.
So I was like, for like a month, I was just like, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to do anything. And then I basically had to, the next car I had to like get a loan, but it wasn't through like a credit like company. It was through like somebody I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave them $6,000 down, and then because I got the rest of the insurance money, and then I already had money saved, and then I sold my totaled car. So I put like every penny I had to my name down, and then I still had like a lot to pay left on it. And then it wasn't even like, I didn't even like the car that much. So I was like, oh my God. But you know what? It's just another struggle that you have to like embrace. And so I think that even though like my baby like got like totaled, I was just like, you know what? I got a nicer car with it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just a new level that you go to, you know? Sometimes you don't want to let go of old friends or old cars, but the next level you have to.
And it's so true, you know, like I always, and I haven't shared this, but I will share this on this episode. Ooh. It can be a very lonely road.
Yeah.
Like your true friends, the people that are really going to cheer you on, and when you want to quit or you feel like you suck, are actually going to lift you up, are so rare. You can count them like in a hand. You know what I mean? Because I always say everybody wants to be with you at the top, but it's hard to see the ones that really want to be with you at the bottom, or when you're barely starting out in something new, but everybody thinks you're crazy.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't really want to broadcast me starting my eyelash brand, because I was like, oh, like the last thing I need is for anybody to tell me like I can't do this, you know, because I was in my little bubble. I was like, my boyfriend's telling me I can do it, you know. My best friend is telling me she's excited. I was like, my mom thinks I'm crazy, but that's fine. I was just like, no, nobody can tell me anything. So like I would even be in group chats with the friends that, you know, I had at that point. And they'd be talking about what they're doing, and they'd be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, just chilling, just like working, like nothing really, you know, because I was like, no, because I'm not going to take any criticism. And I actually like, have had a few of the people that I thought were going to cheer me on that didn't. And so I was just shocked by that. But then you realize like, you know, I realized my best friend and my boyfriend, like throughout all points of my life, have been there for me. So I'm just like, and then I met a girl not even that long ago, because she was working at Starbucks at the time, and I was coming to that Starbucks every day. And now me and her are like meeting up all the time, and I've actually helped her start her brand. And I'm like, you know what? That's a friend I want to have.
That's awesome.
And she's always cheering me on. So you can meet friends kind of far into your journey that are still friends like that you can have in your circle. You know, I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh no, I only want the friends I've had, you know?
No, you have to, like you were saying, like you have to let it go. Like I'm super lucky now. I mean, I made some amazing friendships. You know, one of them, Ricardo, we barely met, like, I think it was in March or February of this year. And like, we become like best friends, and like, he has cheered me on and helped me out so much. And I feel so blessed, but you have to be able to welcome in the new and let go of the old.
Yeah. And that's something that's extremely hard for people, especially, I grew up in a few very small towns where like I was moving a lot, to where like people stay in that town like their whole lives, which is fine if that's what they want to do. But there are some that are meant to get out of that town, but you can tell they're just too scared. They're like, no, I don't want to leave everything I know. And I'm like, but you want to do this, and there's nothing here that's for that. And I'm always the type of person to encourage people to move where they're from. I'm like, you have to. Like, what do you mean? And it's probably just because I moved so many times, we're to the point where I could move tomorrow and I'd find a way to deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
But I see people holding on to all kinds of stuff they need to let go. And I'm like, dude, like that's only hurting you more. And then when you finally let it go, it's going to hurt so bad.
It's true. You know, and so now that you have your brand and you're established, how do you deal with all like the negativity, or how do you deal when somebody like is not, you know, the nicest or trying to harm you?
So I actually had learned from a business person that I follow. Her name's Supa Scent. She owns the Crayon Case Cosmetics. It's kind of like it's a bigger brand. Yeah, she's amazing because she posts all her tips on her page, like not on the Crayon Case, but on her personal page. And she told me, and well, she didn't tell me. Sorry, she posted on her. I actually have like a business consultant in Atlanta that I met over Instagram, but I actually met her in person when I went to Atlanta, so it was awesome. But anyway,
awesome.
She shares all of Supa's posts with me that she thinks would pertain to me. So she said that she sent me a post that said that Instagram has comment controls, where basically if there's a certain word that that's negative that you don't want to be commented, because I mean, if somebody finds you on the explore page but then they read the comments and people are just trolling and being nasty,
Yeah.
they're already gonna get a bad like take on your brand. They're gonna be like, oh, like I saw bad comments. So I basically filtered out certain words. So you can do this if you have a business page Instagram. Like I filtered out like ugly, like fake, just because I never really got any negative comments before.
Yeah.
But I would get messages. That's a whole different ballgame. But I basically did the comment controls for that way you can just keep the brand's image up to date, because I answer all my emails and I go through all the important DMs that I need to. So like every day. So I'm like, I don't need nobody needs to get my attention with a comment.
That's awesome.
So
I like that you do that. I didn't know you could do that.
So you can definitely do that. I'll tag you in the post, because it's honestly like basically they can comment it, the person that's commenting it, but it won't show up on your page, but it won't like delete their comment or anything. It just won't show up.
Well, that's nice. I love that.
Yeah. So it's awesome because like if a brand is up to date on their customer service, you don't need anybody commenting about where's my order, because then it just looks like you don't ship out your orders,
Mm-hmm.
So comment control, how I deal with the messages, I just like to dissect which one's important. If they're talking to me about an order, of course it's top priority.
Yeah.
And I've never gotten any bad like messages about an order. I have definitely forgotten stuff, but I've never had anybody come at me sideways for it. And I think that's just because I answer the emails really fast. So
that's like awesome. You stay on top of your business.
I like checking my emails like every day. It's just more of like a routine. But messages about, like, I get messages about PR a lot, and people are like, hey, can I be on the list? And a lot of times, like, I have it in my bio, like, I don't do that right now. And I still have a little PR list, but I'm basically not adding to it. So I don't, like, respond to those. But some of them, they'll get hateful. They'll be like, why don't you add me to your PR list? Like, whatever. Like, I didn't even want to be on it anyways. What? People I know. And I'm like, when did anybody ever tell you that that's like an okay thing to comment? So to me, I'll press decline on the message request, and I get like, sometimes you'll get trolls. Like you literally get like people make like spam accounts where it's basically just they have like 3 followers, and then they have like an emoji as their profile picture, and they have a private account, and then they just want to talk trash. And I'm like, yeah, no, why would I want a spam account on my PR list?
And that's what I mean. Like, honestly, like a lot of the thing with the whole entitlement, and I love that you're talking about that. Okay, first of all, we all have bios, so we all should be reading the bios,
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to reach a big company or even just a company in general. Be respectful and mindful. Like you're talking about, you didn't even answer your DMs. See, I didn't know, and I was DMing you. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just so important to like read the bios and be respectful and mindful. And you guys, sometimes when we like knock doors, the answer is going to be a no. But you know what you say? Thank you.
Yeah. Exactly. And I feel like starting out artists, like the ones that truly love makeup as an art form, if they do reach out, they're going to be fine if they get a no. But it's the ones that just want like free stuff and they just want to be like, oh, I'm cool, like a company sent me something, that are going to be mad when you don't respond or you say no.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of brands have promoter searches, which is basically where you take a picture from theirs and you post on your story and you're like, oh, I want to be their promoter or something. And a lot of people that don't get picked, they get mad and they're like, oh, they're only doing that to get followers. But no, we're doing that so we could find other artists we're not aware of, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just people get entitled people, they'll get mad about it. But regular artists, if they don't get picked, they're just like, oh, okay, you know, next time. Because like you're gonna get so many no's in your life. If you expect everybody to say less, you have a horrible like wake up call coming.
And it's so true. Like I always tell people, they're like, oh, this and that. Like, you guys have to be willing to say no. For that
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2 yes I've gotten in my life, you know,
Yeah.
there's been a shit ton of no's. But
Yeah.
I say thank you, and I'm grateful. You know why? Because it keeps my ass humble, and it wasn't meant for me maybe at that time, but maybe then, you know, later on in my life, I'm ready for it.
Exactly. And there's a lot of reasons why a brand can't give everybody PR. So there's reasons why you might have not quite made the cut. But it's also like me as a brand, I know what it's like to get told no. You know, I've asked probably like 30 boutiques if I could have a pop-up shop in their boutique, and I was like, I'll give you like a certain amount or a flat rate, like whatever you want. And all of them have said no. Like I have not got one yes yet. And I've been in business for almost 8 months, I think, and 7 or 8 months, and I still have not got a yes yet. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be like cussing that brand out, or the boutique out, because they told me no. You know, that's the best way to get blocked. And then they tell their boutique friends like, oh, don't let this person, you know.
Yeah.
So like life is a lot of no's, you know. If you don't know that by now, then I'm sorry, but
you're in for a rude awakening.
I know. I'm like, dude, you get no's. I get no's from everybody, so I don't know how.
It's perseverance. At the end of the day, if you have a dream, if you have a goal, if you have a business, you have to persevere. The businesses that persevere are the ones who make it. You know, like I love that little Instagram little picture of where Apple, you know, like Amazon, like all these businesses where they started. The freaking garage.
Yeah.
Like Amazon, like his little office. I love that he has a picture of his little office, like all trashy, like a whole bunch of papers all over the place, and you know, with like a handmade label of his Amazon. And look at him now.
I know. Now he's the richest man in the world.
Exactly. So there's something to be said for the ones that dare to be different, that dare to follow their dreams.
Yeah, and honestly, what would we be without Amazon right now?
I know, seriously.
Like everything, the fact that I can order something that I really need, but I don't want to go to the store for, and I can get it in 2 days, shipped for free, you know, like he dared to be different. He probably got so much backlash, especially if he quit a job to start it. I don't know his whole story, but now everybody like needs Amazon. You know what? I bet you his haters that like told him stuff probably order off Amazon just as much as everybody else now. Because now it's like everything that you need is on Amazon. I remember if you needed a certain product like 10 years ago, you would have to like go on your big old like not even your like chunky computer with the dusty screen on the computer. You'd have to tell your mom, hey, stop using the phone, I need to look at something. You'd have to Google. Yeah, you'd have to like Google like whatever you wanted. You have to go through like 4 pages to finally find it.
Like Yahoo and AOL.
Yeah.
The little noise, you know, trying to connect.
And then your brother would come in and be like, I want to play pinball, get off of the chair, and he'd be like, no, I need, you know. And now Amazon, like he started Amazon when I was born, the year I was born.
Hey, girl.
He started Amazon in 97, and like it's this big today. I thought he started Amazon like way later. So finding out that he's been doing this for so long and he started with just books, I was like,
21
oh my God. I know. I was like, I'm as old as Amazon.
That's crazy. That's what I mean. See, there it goes. There's a story. Persevere.
21 years of grinding, and now he's the richest man in the world. But what if like the first person that threw him a negative comment, he was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore.
Because if he where he's at today.
Yeah, because if he didn't invent it, somebody else would have.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important for everybody listening to this. Like, always follow your dreams, take in the hustle, take in the bad with the good, and just keep on going. Like, if you have a dream, we all do. I do.
Yeah.
You know, as I work so hard for it, and we'll have to sacrifice and be willing to put in the work for the reward too.
Yeah, and you might give up so much. You know, you might have to like tell your hater friends like, hey, I don't want you guys like in my life anymore because you bring me down. You might have to spend like 80% of your time on your business or like alone. You may have to quit the job that's kind of taking up all your time.
Yeah.
You may have to go broke from paying for like everything to start, but you have to do it, or else you're literally like, I think everybody who wants to start a business should start it regardless of what they're doing now, even if it's just on the side. They don't have to quit their whole job, because
I love it.
They're gonna have that like thing in the back of their mind their whole life being like, what if?
Yeah. There's nothing worse in this life than what if. I'd rather take 20 falls than a what if.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's why like every business I've wanted to start so far, I've, started or tried to start, and, some of them were just like terrible investments, and some of them, like this one, I think this is the only one I've had that's like really, really like blown up. But what if like 6 months ago, or how long ago did I quit my job? I don't know, like 8 months ago, that like what if I was just like, like I don't want to do that. I just want to keep working. And then now, if I was still at that same job, I would have probably just been like, man, what if I started that?
Yeah. You
I
wouldn't be here today.
Yeah. And I'm thinking like, I would have never met you. I would have never been on this podcast. I literally met so many people because of it. I have a little decal on my car that says like my brand name at the website. And a lot of people ask me about it. That's how I met that girl at Starbucks.
Dude, that's awesome.
She's like, what is that? And I was like, oh, like, blah, blah, this and that.
Oh, no, so tell us. So what's your brand name? Where can we find you on Instagram, or if you have Facebook or any other type of social media? Share, girl, share.
Okay, thank you. So my brand's called Leo.Lashes. It's because I was born in August, so I'm a Leo. The Instagram is at Leo.Lashes. The dot in the middle is important because if it's just Leo.Lashes, it's like a Russian person that does eyelash extensions. Because I wanted that username so bad. And I see some people tag it, and I'm like, no.
Put the dot, guys.
I know. And then Twitter is at Leo.Lashes1. I didn't want to make that username. They made it for me, and I don't know how to change it. So I'm like, whatever. Snapchat is just Leo.Lashes. Facebook, I forgot what Facebook is, but I don't use it that much anyway, so
we can find you on Instagram, on Twitter,
and Snapchat.
Yeah, Snapchat. All right, girl. Well, I want to say thank you so much for spending an hour of your time on my podcast and sharing your story and inspiring us. And if we want to get in contact with you and get your expertise and help in starting our own brand, how do we do that?
You can always DM me on either my personal account, which is at Priscilla is a Leo, or you can DM me on Leo.Lashes, or there's an email, leolashesbiz@gmail.com that you can email me at. The DMs are probably going to be the quickest response. Sometimes I get lost in the requests, but I check my DMs like every other hour, and I check my emails like once or twice a day. Well, if I'm on my phone. If I'm working, I don't touch my phone. But on my days off, like today, I got time.
Yeah, like anybody can DM me. So make sure, you guys, if you guys want help, if you have any questions, feel free to DM or email Priscilla. She's been awesome. I developed a friendship with you over Instagram, over DMs, and I'm so excited to have you here on my podcast.
Thank you. It's been an honor. I'm super excited to share this with everybody.
Yes, girl, you did it. Yay.
Yay.
Well, I'll be in touch with you. So thank you so much, Priscilla, and enjoy your day, okay?
You too. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you have any questions, always feel free to DM me or email me on any of my social platforms at Celeste Stylist. If you wouldn't mind leaving me a review or a comment, I would greatly appreciate that. And feel free to share this with anybody that you think would benefit from it. Thank you so much. Until next time, I'll see you guys back here at Celeste Stylist.